the last few moments, we were going along the ridge, and we couldn't see the summit as the ridge kept running away to the right from us. And we came round the last bump, and then we found the ridge dropping away to the north. It was quite a relief. So we looked up, and there was the summit just 30, 40 feet above us. So we cut up onto the summit and stepped on it. I think my first reaction was definitely one of relief.
Yes.
And relief that we'd found the summit, for one thing.
Yes.
And relief that we were there.
And I suppose you spoke to each other. What were the first words you exchanged with Tenzing when you were actually on the top?
Well, I can't remember. Actually, with all our oxygen masks on, it was rather hard to speak anyway. But we certainly shook hands and gave each other the odd thump on the back, I think.
I think listeners would be interested to know how big the actual top of Everest is. Could you move around freely on it, or did it come to a sharp snow point, or what?
Well, it's not exactly a sharp snow point. It's a very symmetrical and attractive summit, but it's a rounded top, and it is quite easy to move around on it and even to sit down on it. So you couldn't pitch a tent there.
No. How long were you actually up there?
We were there 15 minutes altogether.
What could you really see from the top of Everest? About how far were you seeing, and what was the view like?
Well, the view was extremely extensive, of course. It was very clear. There weren't any clouds at all. And we could see a long way into Tibet and into Nepal. Kanchenjunga was quite clear, far away, and Makalu, another of the very big peaks, was a great sight below us. However, the view was perhaps not spectacular in that it looked rather flat, very similar to a view from an aircraft.
Yes. Is there any noise on the top of Everest?
Well, I think the only noise was probably the noise of our breathing.
Yes.
And also there was a slight wind blowing, which made a slight noise, but apart from that I have no recollection of any particular noise altogether.
A very silent as well as a desolate spot.
Yeah.
Do you think that the route you followed is the only possible one? Some of us, of course, were trying the other face of Everest before the war.
Well, I certainly wouldn't say it's the only possible one, no. I do think that the impression I had of the last 1,000 feet of the northern route, it looked exceptionally difficult to me, but then it always does looking down the slope.
And were you able to leave anything on the top that any future climber might find, or wasn't that possible?
Well, we had nothing with us that would remain there indefinitely. It was impossible to make a cairn because the rocks were some 30 or 40 feet below the summit.
Yes.
So all we left on top was Tenzing left a few little bits of food as offering to the Buddhist gods, and we left the flags, the 4 flags on the string on top too, but I shouldn't think they'd last very long.
And I'm going to ask Colonel Hunt to ask Tenzing in his own language what his thoughts and feelings were when he stood on the top of Everest.
तो ये सवाल है कि जब आप पहले वहाँ ऊपर समिट पर पहुँचे आप तो आपके दिल में क्या सबसे पहले क्या ख्याल थे?
सबसे ये ख्याल था कि एक हमने साथ में
He says that that his first feeling was of immense relief and enormous joy that after so many years of being on the mountain himself, in particular last year when he reached so near to the top, that he got there. Second thing was one of intense interest, looking down the northern side, by which the expeditions in which he'd taken part, some of them, had tried to get to the top. He was able to see the campsites right down that north face, the northeastern ridge, by which had been used before, to the Rongbu monastery, which naturally to him, as a devout Buddhist, means a great deal. He was able to see that monastery. It's a very famous one, which they'd always visited, and on their way up by the northern side.